Hey everybody, how's it going? I hope you're all having a lovely day. So, this is crazy. This is a week-old news, and I was not paying attention to this because I had other things to attend to, and several of you have emailed me asking what I think of several hundred people that make MacBook Pros breaking through COVID barriers and trying to beat up guards so that they could go where they want to go. So, as many of you may know, China is still trying to pursue this whole COVID zero thing where they don't even have even one case, and they are willing to clamp down as much as humanly possible on human freedom in order to achieve this, which scares the crap out of people like me because to some extent, if you lived in New York City, you saw that happen here in March of 2020. But needless to say, it was like the idea that this is happening 2 years later is, to me, absolutely insane. And when you read some of this over here, it says that they are trying to avoid closing the production plants by using a closed-loop production process. This is where workers live in on-site dormitories, with none of them allowed to enter or leave the facility for a month or more at a time. Apple was hoping that this approach could enable it to protect iPhone 14 production by recruiting workers before they are needed, but the plan has been suspended. Let's see, Quanta's iPhone plant in Shanghai operates the closed-loop system, and this is just freaky. So if you take a look, you can see what the workers were doing to try to escape this shit, which, to be clear, I do not blame them for doing. I would probably do the exact same shit if I was put in this situation. Absolutely fucking bonkers. Quanta employees confirmed the clash occurred Thursday evening when the company did not immediately provide comment. One worker said they are people worried about further tightening because there are positive COVID cases on the campus. The government is taking a central role in managing the plant's operations, said another employee on site. The incident underscores the rising challenges for President Xi Jinping's hardline strategy in containing the pandemic. China has imposed sweeping lockdowns to quarantine the infected and prevent COVID spread, an approach that has sparked unusual protests and complaints in the 25 million strong city of Shanghai. I don't think it is unusual to protest and complain this shit continuing into 2022. But what do I know? Quanta is a critical partner for Apple, generating more than 50% of its revenue for the Cupertino, California-based company as it assembles MacBooks and other devices. The Taiwanese company also does work for HP Inc., Dell, and Microsoft, according to Bloomberg supply chain information. Now, one thing that's really interesting here is if they are actually going to continue pursuing a COVID zero policy, that means that there's going to be massive limits in the production that's going to be possible out of these plants. Limited production means less new stuff. Less new stuff means it's more important to be able to fix the old stuff, which means it would really be nice if I could get an ISL 9240 without having to go down to the Apple store, buy an iPhone XR charging case, tear it apart to grab one chip. Can you work with us a little bit here? I want to keep your customers' devices working again. Please. Just a crumb. Just a crumb. Every now and then I hear the shipping guy and one of the border repair people that used to work in shipping here, they'll go back and forth over things and they'll say, just a crumb, just a crumb, a crumb, just a crumb of it. I don't know where this meme comes from. I honestly don't. I'm not aware of it because they're in their early 20s and I'm getting into my mid 30s. So I don't follow all the memes nowadays that the kids have, but just a crumb, Apple, just a crumb, just one chip, just one tiny little schematic, please. But in all seriousness, this really does underscore the issue with having so much of your production of so many devices for so many companies that we rely on for a regular basis in one country, while simultaneously having a culture that denigrates repair to the point where when that device breaks, you buy a new one. What happens if you no longer have the ability to repair your stuff, while simultaneously your ability to buy a new one affordably goes away because that country's production goes down because they're pursuing an insane policy called COVID zero? It's something to think about, and I really do hope over the next 10 to 20 years that we start moving away from this. I get it, it's not going to be easy to just start randomly building things in the United States just like that. because a lot of the institutional knowledge has gone away. You know, I forget the exact name of the book. I've read this book like 5 or 10 years ago, but it was talking about when a lot of the plants that did a lot of the space shuttle production and everything for NASA, when a lot of the people left and closed, they were talking about how even if you account for inflation, it would cost 2 to 4 times as much to build a lot of those shuttles now than it did 40 or 50 years ago, because all the institutional knowledge in those factories, like, it's gone. It's not all, everything is not written down. Something that's really important to understand is that when you stop producing something and you just tell somebody else to start producing it, to start producing it again here is going to be really difficult. There's a lot on how to run this company here that I have in books and wikis and little articles in places, but at the end of the day, if you simply tried to take all my workers, fire them just like that, and then a year later bring back a bunch of randomly other people to start doing the job that we do here, we would not be 4.5 to 5 stars on Google Maps. We'd be closer to 2 or 3. The work would still get done, but it's just not the same because there's so much little knowledge on how to do all these little things and how the communication works back and forth that's just not possible to put in a book when you're talking about something that's insanely specialized. There's a lot of knowledge that just lives in people's heads that doesn't get written down that they have, that we would have to learn. There's all these little things in the production processes that they learned. They already dealt with the growing pains of, oh, well, you know, how does this work when this machine jams up? And just like small stuff when you're building all these different types of complex devices, and we would have to learn that from scratch. That's going to take a long time. We've spent 20 or 30 or 40 years outsourcing the production of all these devices to another country. To start just producing them again in America, there's a lot of knowledge that goes into how to do this. You know, think about the first time you tried to do something at your job. You probably weren't that good at it. The second time, a little better. The third time, a little better. 5 years into it, maybe you learned something only at that 5-year mark that's like, aha, if only I knew that for the past 5 years, I would have been able to do everything so much faster. And they've spent the last 30 to 40 years learning all those processes, perfecting all those processes. We'd be starting from scratch, which would make it very, very difficult. This is something that I think needs to get focused on as soon as possible, even if we don't intend to actually start doing production in another country, or dare I say it, on our own until 2030 or 2035. Even if you do want to start doing that by 2030 or 2035, you got to start now, because you have to get all those growing pains out of the way, and you have to catch up to people that have been doing it for 30 years. But it may finally be time for that to happen, because this seems crazy to me. Let me know what you think in the comments down below. That's it for today, and as always, I hope you learned something. I'll see you all in the next video. Bye now.